It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Mental health matters. Yes, emotional well-being is vitally important, but it's more than that. Mental health actually impacts physical health, behavior, and even the course of a person's entire life. I'm Lisa Reimer, the host of Mental Health Matters and the communications officer for New Horizons of the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. For those not familiar with New Horizons, we're the most comprehensive mental health and substance abuse agency in the region, serving 14,000 children and adults annually, regardless of their ability to pay. In fact, almost 60% of our clients have no source of income or insurance. Yet, as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, no one is ever turned away due to lack of financial resources. Now celebrating 60 years of being a community mental health agency, New Horizons has 8 facilities in 4 counties, including Indian River County, and we have 2 offices right here in Vero Beach. Our main campus in Fort Pierce houses crisis residential units for children and for adults, as well as a detox unit and a 28-day drug and alcohol recovery program, all services which Indian River County residents are eligible for. Today's mental health matter that we're going to explore is the relationship between mental health, homelessness, and privilege. With me in the Planet Vero studios is Schatzi Lajoie, a phenomenal artist and a licensed mental health counselor who offers therapy to homeless women and children in transition at the Samaritan Center, as well as therapy to men at Camp Haven, who would otherwise be homeless. You have been connected to the homeless population and services in Indian River County for a long time, Schatzi. You're one of the founders of the Soup Bowl, I assume?
Right. I was really on the Catholic Charities Board in 1989 when there were no homeless services at all in Indian River County. And we were looking to open a agency up here for Catholic Charities and found that opening up the Samaritan Center would be the first outreach to try to stop homelessness. And that's the Samaritan Center. And so they picked families, homeless families. So that was the niche that
Is it husbands
out.
And wives and children, or just
anyone who is a guardian of a minor child can be and is homeless and is a Indian River County resident is eligible for residency at Samaritan Center. So you could be a pregnant woman. If you're pregnant with no other children, you could go into the Samaritan Center as long as there is a minor. So that has been, we celebrated our 25th year, and I was on their board on and off for about 20 years, and I was involved with the Soup Bowl because that was our signature fundraiser at the time, and have to be an artist and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, so that's how I started in homelessness, is just being a board member. And then subsequently, I had gotten my graduate degree and became a mental health counselor. And years later, Samaritan Center asked me to help them out. And I did that for them because it was difficult. The homeless don't have cars. They don't have time to go to therapy. They don't have time to do much because they're working or taking care of their children. And we found trying to refer them out for services that they wouldn't go. It's hard enough for the average person to go to therapy or just to get some, life coaching. And then you get the homeless population where there's, they're just shut down a lot and have a lot of depression and really don't know the benefits.
You mentioned working, so they do work.
Oh, yeah. It's a working program, as is Camp Haven. They're both working programs. They're both structured programs. They're sober living programs. The difference is that they're single men at Camp Haven. And single meaning they don't have their families. Some of them could be married. and some of them are fathers. But at Samaritan Center, everyone is a guardian of a minor child, adult population.
Is it mostly women and children, or is it I
would say it leans more towards single moms with their children, but we've had intact families, and we've also had single dads with their children, and we've had, aunt and uncle with their nieces and nephews that they have custody over. So I mean, any combination that would constitute a family unit, the Samaritan Center can be an option.
So let's start with the mothers and fathers of children who are homeless. Do you see similarities in their stories?
Oh, yeah. Well, what was so profound and why we picked the Samaritan Center is, of course, Catholic Charities is an international organization, so we had a lot of data. And we did a lot of research, and we found that homelessness is passed on through generations. And that's poverty. Mm-hmm. And so if you grow up in a home where it's normal not to have your basic needs met, then when you become an adult, you don't know how to get them met because nobody was getting them met when you were a child. Mm-hmm. And then that cycle repeats. If you're not forced to go to school, if 3 meals a day isn't routine, if education isn't important, then there's no high school diploma, there's no certifications to go out and, make a meaningful living. And then usually there's early teenage pregnancies, and then now you have a little baby that you have to take care of. And diapers cost the same for everybody. Mm-hmm. So does formula. So does baby clothes. So does a light bill. So does cable bill. I mean, all of that across the board, it doesn't matter what your income is, you have to pay the same. And that's a problem.
Do you see those same issues in the male population that you provide therapy to at Camp Haven?
Well, I find in both sides that there's a dysfunctional background. And, everybody has some dysfunction, but, there's a real fail in the ability to understand what it takes to get your own needs met. Just a fail. And, that is the job of a child from 0 to 18 is to learn how to be self-reliant and understand the world and have some guidance to be able to figure out how to navigate their life. And if you don't get that guidance, it doesn't just come into your head. And so what I think happens is that, I always tell the clients, the world just rolls over you with a steamroller because they know how to get their needs met, and they're out there everyone's competing, and someone who doesn't know feels like the world's against them, and they don't know how to get in the game, and so they retract because they don't have any skills. And there's actually nothing wrong with them, because if you don't know what you don't know, you're not mentally ill. You just don't know something. Mm-hmm. And I find that a lot of the neurosis and even some of the psychosis gets cleared pretty quickly when the worldview is shifted and say, if you didn't know that, that your parents were supposed to protect you and keep you safe from the consequences of, let's say sexual abuse, and then they blamed you for it, and it takes a while to unwind that. The nervous system unwinds with the new information. Mm-hmm. And some of that can just lift, with the grieving process, and there's a process of adjustment that's psychologically difficult. But there's nothing wrong with a child that's been abused.
Well, what do you do in therapy to help them? So you're talking about, several different things. So let's say, you're working with someone who just has arrived at Camp Haven. and you're providing therapy. Do you have a basic theme of your therapy, or do you?
Well, there's a psychological education component mostly at Camp Haven, and it's just really, going over what emotions are. I mean, just basic 101. How do emotions work? How does the nervous system work? I love neuroscience. I love biology. I like to just talk about biology for a long time for people to get out of their heads and go realize that, a lot of the things that are swirling around have to do with multiple traumas. Mm-hmm. And, in the case in the mental health field today, we understand what PTSD does to the body. Mm-hmm. We didn't know that 10 years ago. We actually didn't, we were getting closer and closer and closer. And we're, understanding what the amygdala is, which is this emotional, kind of the emotional center of the brain. And
tell people, it's like the reptile brain. It's in the very deep center of your brain.
Right, it's in the deep center of the brain. And, it kind of takes the mystery out of it. Or, if you go back to Freud and, everything had this big story, and now it's like, wait a minute, we understand the biology, and the stories probably told, the stories we use told a tale, but we understand the biology. So now we want the nervous systems to calm down. And that's what residential centers do, is they allow safety, and safety allows people to settle down. And when we settle down, we can heal.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break right there. If you're just joining in, we are talking to Schatzi Lajoie, who is a artist here in Vero Beach and a licensed mental health counselor, and we'll be back in a minute.
Are you opening a used car lot, pawn shop, a restaurant that will serve beer and wine? In the state of Florida, these and many other industries require a Level 2 live scan background check for clearance to work in your industry. A1A Fingerprints is your certified live scan source from Broward to Brevard. And if you're a medical provider, you need to be registered on the ACA web portal. A1A Fingerprints will help you navigate and comply with the law. Call 772-494-6556 or visit a1afingerprints.com. A1A Fingerprints.
Are you feeling blue? Going for a walk outside will surely lift your spirits. Studies indicate that walkers scored significantly higher on vitality, enthusiasm, pleasure, and self-esteem, and lower on tension, depression, and fatigue after they walked outside. Feeling down once in a while is normal, but if you're feeling depressed on a regular basis, you may want to consult a mental health professional. New Horizons is the largest mental health and substance abuse agency in the area, with help just a phone call away 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call 772-468-5600 or visit newhorizonstreasurecoastinc.org.
The Cataract Institute at New Vision Eye Center offers the most advanced technology available for patients with cataracts. Gentle, bladeless, computer-guided cataract removal. Our advanced laser system is designed to deliver the best visual results with unsurpassed accuracy and efficiency. No two eyes are the same, not even yours. That's why we use the Varian image-guided system to obtain a fingerprint of your eye before your cataract procedure. Doctors Minotti and Tate offer the safest and most efficient technique for cataract removal and permanent intraocular lens implant. Patients are personally counseled on the best approach for their needs and lifestyle. There are multifocal lenses that allow for distance vision and reading, or toric lenses to correct astigmatism. Call New Vision Eye Center for a consultation or second opinion. Your eyesight deserves world-class eye care. Visit newvisioneyecenter.com or call 772-257-8700. That's New Vision Eye Center in Vero Beach.
Hi, this is Matt Resch from Premier Landscape Solutions. At Premier, we do so much more than service your lawn. We provide professional service with communication with our clientele. This allows us to deliver you a lawn that will make you proud. Commercial or residential, Premier offers both semi and annual contracts. Please call us today for a free quote, 633-8598. For a pristine lawn, call Premier Landscape Solutions, 633-8598.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. I'm your host, Lisa Reimer, and I'm in the Planet Vero studios today with Schatzi Lajoie, who is an artist and a licensed mental health counselor who's been talking about her work with homeless people in transition at the Samaritan Center and Camp Haven. If you've missed the first half of the show, you can go to www.livestream.com and then look for the Planet Vero shows, and then we're in there as Mental Health Matters. Or you can go to our New Horizons Mental Health Facebook page. Schatzi,
Yes.
did you grow up in a Leave It to Beaver style environment?
No.
Oh.
No. I grew up with two parents who really were having trouble being adults. And there's a little alcoholism involved and some mental illness involved. And the good news is that we were in a very prestigious neighborhood, and our family had a lot of money. So what happened was my parents could hire people to do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a housekeeper, we had a laundress, we had a gardener, we had a nanny. So my mom was pretty well covered. And my father, had inherited a really nice job from his dad, so he didn't have to go through the struggles. He was very smart and did a good job, but, it's different when you have connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when you have money and you can rest and you can relax and you don't have to just work hard all the time. And, but if you are having trouble with your inner life, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're miserable.
So did you, growing up in an environment with alcoholism and other dysfunctions going on, which most of us do, grow up with at least some degree of dysfunction, but were you okay?
Well, it's funny. Children don't know what normal is. And it's a sneaky little self-protective thing that happens because we're a species. So we grew up in this unit and it's normal to us. So we don't realize that maybe 2 doors down the street, there's a little more structure.
Mm-hmm.
And that people don't have to ask for their basic needs, that they are supplied. There's never a question that you would go and get school clothes or who's cooking dinner tonight. Those types of things would happen in a privileged household just as much as it would happen in a poverty household. It's just that the food is there somewhere. Where in poverty, there isn't any food. Okay. And the money's there to buy the clothes. It's just that everyone is preoccupied, so you're not getting what you need. But it's there. Eventually, you'll get it. But in poverty, there's no money to buy the shoes. And so there's this thing that would happen in a privileged household is, why don't I have the shoes? Why don't I have the clothes when everyone else in the neighborhood seems to be fine? Like Girl Scout dues. I dropped out of Girl Scouts because I couldn't get a dime to go to Girl Scouts. And of course there was money there, but when you're little and you're 9, you don't know how to ask. You just go, I don't have the dues. I can't go to Girl Scouts. You were taught not to ask for what you needed. I could have gotten the dime. I mean, look, sitting in my chair now, talking to you and bringing this up as an example, I could have, woken my mom up who was sleeping in the middle of the day. And I could have said, Mom, I need a dime for Girl Scouts. But I was kind of trained not to wake Mom up if she was sleeping. So therefore, whoops, if I need a dime, how am I going to get
And
Girl
it's your
Scouts?
fault because you didn't remember the day before.
And I didn't, get it. And then, you feel shame, and that happens in a privileged household. But in a poverty, there isn't the dime.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also taught not to ask for money because they know there isn't any. So it's a little different. But the best thing not the best thing, but the best example that I saw about privilege was a video that we talked about over the break. And they lined up all of these young adults on a line. And they said, everyone whose parents are still together, take a step forward. Every family that didn't have an addiction in it, take a step forward. Anyone who never had to pay their cell phone bill growing up, take a step forward. Anyone that got into college and paid for it themselves, that someone else got them into college and paid for it, take a step forward. And then
you had like 35 people at the beginning, or 100 people.
I think there was like a line of 100 people, and there were probably 4 or 5 people standing on the line, and then several within the first 10 yards, and then there was they were scattered, and then the guy goes, "Okay, we're going to run a race. Ready, go," and that's what it is.
And the person who's at the very very front wins. Who has had all the privilege.
All the privilege, had, the parents were well connected, could get them these great internships, and then someone was going to hire them. It didn't matter what school they went to, all of these things. And connection is always the answer. Mm-hmm. It's always the answer. And so I believe that places like Samaritan Center and Camp Haven and Hope for Families and Safe Space and Children's Home Society. These are places that help these populations. And they're trying to give them connections into the world so they understand where to go when things go bad. Because that's really what it is. When I have a problem, I go to someone who can help me solve my problem. If I'm not taught that, then I get run over by the steamroller. And I cannot run the race. And that is why New Horizons is so important.
Well, we, take the children who may not have been treated by Hibiscus or the Children's Home Society.
Right.
We take the adults who didn't go into the Samaritan Center, because they're having a crisis. They're Baker acted, or they are trying to kill themselves, or so that's where New Horizons comes in. And the reason why we're here is that you often refer people to New Horizons. Right. So, in your story, when you got out and you went to college and now you were, away from your parents, was there a healing process that you went through even though you had that privilege? Well,
I think that this is across the board. I think that Carl Jung says in the last part of your life, you start to become conscious, and you understand what you didn't know. And I thought because I had those privileges that I was well connected, I was an athlete, and, and I was successful in my career, and, I was married, I had children, plugged into society, that I couldn't have, there was no impact on that early childhood. And, that's just so funny because, here I am now a therapist. Well, when I had to face my own demons, I realized how much I didn't know. And it was interesting to me because there isn't any amount of money that can make somebody whole. You have to know who you are. Someone has to help you find that. And the only way you find that is through connection.
Schatzi, thank you. This is, such a big subject. We'll bring you in many times over the next few months to continue this conversation and maybe boil it down into specific topics. But I did want our listeners just to sort of meet you and hear the overall, summary of what you're doing. I'm reaching out into these homeless populations and helping them become whole and healed. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So this whole program will be on www.livestream.com. Look for Planet Vero, and Mental Health Matters is in here. Or we are always on 107.9 FM on Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Lisa Reimer, and I'll see you next time.